Right now, Spitzer is back. He's still back, but will New Yorkers be willing to forgive and forget? We continue our debate. And next, Zimmerman's defense team is speeding along. They're expected to rest their case tomorrow. We will get you the latest from the courtroom. And later, what does it cost to get a seat around here? The price of politics keeps getting steeper and steeper. We're going to break down just how much a congressional seat costs these days. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in tonight for Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday evening, July the 9th. We begin tonight where we began last night, Eliot Spitzer's return to public life. The man who resigned from his post as New York's governor back in 2008 following a prostitution scandal is back in action, political action. He's running for New York City Comptroller and is asking New Yorkers for forgiveness.
Well, I hope New Yorkers will understand. First, I'm asking forgiveness for what led to my resignation, but also I hope they will look for the record that I had. People do get second chances. Voters will make that determination.
But the big question is, will he get the second chance he's looking for from the voters? Well, a poll back in May of this year indicates that it might be something of a difficult climb for Spitzer. The poll shows that people were much more likely to discontinue support for those who used prostitutes than for those who, let's say, had an affair, that we should point out have not gotten any formal polling on the race with Eliot Spitzer in it in the race for city comptroller. Let's get into this, and for that we bring in tonight's panel. We're joined by Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science from Iona College, Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, O'Brien Murray, Republican strategist, and Assemblyman Kieran Lawler, Republican of Fishkill. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Last night we had a fairly Democratic panel. I want to bring it over to this side of the panel and start with the two gentlemen to my right. What do we think of Eliot Spitzer back in the race for comptroller, and do you think he could win this thing?
First off, he can win this. There's no question about it. I said it last night. Stringer is dead man walking. There's nothing he can do about this thing at this point. He can raise as much money as he can outside Manhattan. They don't know who he is right now. He cut a deal not to run for mayor, to take this lower seat, and everybody backed off and said, it's yours, go away with it, walk away with it. So yes, he can win. But I think it's a disgrace. I think the comptroller's seat of all the seats in New York, you have to have skill sets there, and you have to be trustworthy in a number of other things. And public advocate, maybe you could have seen him going for that, but not this. This is just ridiculous.
Assemblyman, you must be hearing stories from colleagues about, oh gosh, when Spitzer was governor or even when he was AG. What are you hearing?
He was a steamroller, from what I recall. But as a Republican in New York State, I'm very happy that the face of the Democrat candidates in 2013 are Spitzer, Weiner, and Vito Lopez. I mean, that is those are their point people in this election cycle, and that's not good for their party. So I'm surprised they have to bring up so many retreads. New York is a city of 8 million people. Are there only a handful of people who can run for these important offices? I don't think so.
Do you really think that voters are going to lump all of those wayward Democrats, let's say, together, or will they view them on a case-by-case basis?
Well, they're different positions. Obviously, the mayor is an awesome responsibility. Comptroller is awesome responsibility. Less so for the city council. So I think they will be judged individually. But I think the average New York voter is going to say, why? Especially in a Democrat primary, why do we need somebody who's basically damaged goods, who has violated the public trust in the past, when we have an alternative who does not have that problem?
Who committed illegal acts while in office?
I mean,
and he admitted it last night in interviews and across the board. This is what the man did while in office: illegal acts that he never got charged for, but yet he had done. A matter of fact, I think this may be a taxing opportunity. We can get royalties from all the nightly comedy shows maybe in New York City after all this for the next couple of years if this works. Also, I mean, Rudy spent all this money cleaning up Times Square. Now you've got Anthony Weiner being sworn in.
Funny you mentioned Rudy. It's funny you mentioned Rudy, because when you're talking about public trust and scandals, remember what Rudy Giuliani wanted to do with his mistress as it related to Gracie Mansion. He wanted his wife to move out, and he wanted to move in his mistress.
Dominic, that's got nothing.
Am I making this up?
That is not.
But am I making this up?
I'm going to say I disagree with you respectfully.
Okay.
Because that is not. First off, Rudy's not on the ballot. Let's stick to what's on the ballot right now for a second.
All right, for
and
right
I'm
now.
just commenting that. Imagine this: Anthony Weiner being sworn in on New Year's Day in New York City, and the ball dropping with Anthony Weiner and Eliot Spitzer in office. I mean, this is kind of an embarrassment for New York City, if you ask me.
I would agree with that much. I would concede that much. But again, as I said last night, the moment the Spitzer entered this race is over. Finito. Scott Stringer cut the deal. He couldn't cut the mustard to run for mayor, so he pulled back a seat back. I'm going to go for the safe seat. I'm going to run for a city controller. But it's over. All he can do is go negative against Spitzer. That's the only thing he can do where he may win.
Jeannie, I'm curious, can Eliot Spitzer win women's votes in New York City? I mean, there's a difference between what Anthony Weiner did and what Eliot Spitzer did that forced them to resign their respective positions. I mean, there's a morality question here, but there's just an ickiness factor to what Spitzer did.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I have to say, I agree. This shows how weak the Democratic field really is, that he can enter, 3-4 days before signatures are due. He will get on the ballot and he will win. He is overqualified for this position. So he absolutely will win. The Manhattan Borough president is probably dead in the water at this point. But to your question about women, I think one of the surprising things for many of us who have been doing polling is that women, just like men, are willing to forgive, but more importantly, to forget. And that's what all the research shows. There's been a lot of research on political scandals. Time goes by, people are willing to forgive and forget, particularly sexual indiscretions. Now, I agree, this is more than a sexual indiscretion. He broke the law. But that said, people differentiate that from, say, something in office that involved, some kind of public corruption, or something that involved, some kind of lying in office which didn't involve their own personal weaknesses and indiscretions. So people are willing to forgive and forget. The research shows that, and he's banking on that, and he's probably banking it right.
You mentioned he's overqualified. I have a little bit of a discussion on that possibly. Is it the auditing side of the controller's job? I can see that. But I don't know if he's got any investment experience to speak of. And when you're talking about investing billions of dollars of the pension, it doesn't mean that every CEO can be the CFO of a do. And yeah, he was CEO of New York.
But who does before becoming city controller?
Well, other people that have managed money on Wall Street have a lot of experience in the past.
But his argument on that, and I think there are questions here. His argument on that is his family business, which he has run and is a big, successful family business. He has invested, and I think the bigger question is, are people on Wall Street going to want to deal with him? Is he going to have any relationship,
he has done
so to
next
speak?
to nothing in that family business. It was his father's business. His father started from scratch,
but does he,
and he just went to a seat and sat there in between running for office, working in the Manhattan DA's office, and being the state attorney general. He's not managed money.
But
that
does he
not
really?
His job.
I mean, managing money is part of the responsibility of controller, but it's really, from the conversations and the interviews that I've read, he seems much more focused on sort of trying to use the pension funds that he would manage as comptroller as bully leverage against Wall Street firms.
But that's the public advocate job, not to use those funds to do it, but the job of the controller is to get the greatest return possible, minimize the risk, so the pensions don't become a liability for the taxpayers.
But he wouldn't be the first controller to use the pension fund for political purposes. Many of them have done that. The question with Spitzer, here's the million-dollar question. Will he be able to play well with others? And the answer is no.
Does he have to?
Of course, when you're the controller, and that's a problem. Because if you're the controller and the mayor is of your party, you're supposed to have a wink-wink relationship where we'll do audits every now and then, but Mr. Mayor, I will never embarrass you. Spitzer, from day one, is going to be looking to hit a grand slam with every single audit that he does. So whoever the mayor is, they are going to hate his guts.